Shalom, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakatha. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles who are teaching this truth, and a shout out to Akim that's out there on four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. As we know, the Syrian TV channels just got shut down a couple days ago, and RT, Russia Today, and Press TV has been on false flag operations already in place. And now a follow-up to that, southfront.org, which will be in the longer length videos on my second YouTube channel, Confusion of Faith Spreading 2. We are showing that the video is already made. So that video is already made, to falsify means of a chemical weapons attack in Syria. In other words, they already have it staged. They already had done this. And so the credibility of the white helmets, you know as well as I do, that the mask has been off of the white helmets for quite some time, but they're still going to use that anyways. And it's like I said yesterday, though, that I'm not so sure that they're ever going to. I know that the United States is threatening to make an air attack against Iran, but they know that that will result. But I believe that the war that's spoken of is going to be fought in Syria, right there at the Euphrates River, which all that's in the Idlib province. I believe that we're at the very end of this war. They may attack Iran, but we know that this eventually results in the 200 million nuclear missiles, because all these other nations that were allies with the United States, man, they're getting tired of the whore of Babylon the Great because of Donald Trump's policy. So we see that Donald J. Trump is the guy to get things kicked off. And so we know that pretty much Babylon the Great is coming to its end. I would have been out there teaching today, but my car battery died, so I had to charge that. So I'll be out there again very soon here. But nonetheless, that was just one of those things I had to deal with. So I'm just doing this lesson here because, quite simply put, though, this is all going to lead to the destruction of Babylon, this war, this never-ending war. They call it the war on terrorism, that started with the false flag 9/11 attack, which we know that the government within, the enemy within, Amalek, was the one that really perpetrated the whole thing. So, anyhow, there's a lot in here, and I'm going to read out Jeremiah chapter 50. Again, where to start? I'll just start in verse 14. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 14. Put yourselves in array against Babylon all around, all you who bend the bow. What's that talking about? That's talking about them 200 million nuclear missiles. All you nuclear-armed countries, and there's a lot more than what the mainstream will tell you. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Most High. Shout against her all around. She has given her hand. Her foundations have fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Most High. Take vengeance on her, as she has done, so do to her. So, in other words, pretty much, and I believe that this is going to be a reaction after Damascus has been taken away. I believe this is when all them countries are going to shoot them nuclear missiles against Babylon. Cut off the sower from Babylon, and him who handles the sickle at harvest time. Well, who handles the sickle? That's a good question. For the fear of the oppressing sword, everyone shall turn to his own people, and everyone shall flee into his own land. People are getting the fuck out of America, man. And we're going to have to endure to the very end. There's no country that we can escape to, but we're going to get on them chariots. We're going to get out of here. Those that are the elect. Israel is like scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. For the king of Assyria hath devoured him. Modern day king of Assyria, a.k.a. king of Babylon. Pretty much we've been carried away. We're over here in Babylon the Great. Now, at last, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has broken his bones. And so who's that modern day King Nebuchadnezzar? You can call him Donald J. Trump. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, the High One of Israel. Behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land. So he's going to come against Babylon the Great, America, as I have punished the king of Assyria, which, Assyria and Syria, two different places, but the same region, though. So you can just call it Syria now, because this is a future proverb. But as it happened then, it's happening now. Pretty much Syria is being destroyed by Babylon the Great. But I will bring back Israel to his home. So that means, how's he going to do that? By way of them chariots. He shall feed on Carmel and Bashan. His soul shall be satisfied on Mount Ephraim and Gilead. So we're going to be brought back into our land by the Son of the Most High, Yahweh Shai. In those days and at that time, saith the Lord Yahweh, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought, but there shall be none. In other words, all our iniquities and things of the past will be wiped out. We're going to be made clean. We're going to get our spiritual bodies. And the sins of Judah, but they shall not be found. In other words, continuing on, for I will pardon those whom I preserve. So in other words, as a preserved, the elect, who are now out there on the highways and byways teaching this truth. And so this Go Ministries joke of a group, which of course, they're calling us Black Hebrew Israelites, but do I look like a Black Hebrew Israelite? That's the question we kept asking No Class Below. Do I look like a Black Hebrew Israelite? It's funny because pretty much, we're not all going to look like John Shaft. And they use the terms Mortal Kombat. That's funny. Do I look like Scorpion? Do I look like Sub-Zero for you? Get over here. Oh, man, we ain't doing that shit, man. They're just making a joke and a mockery out of us. They're going to be destroyed because these are actually jakes that are coming against the Most High, and they're part of the 2/3, which we know that Esau's setting them up to come against us because they know that they hold no water with no class alone. So they now are trying to get TD Snakes and others out there just to push that stretch Christianity. But it's failing. Stretch Christianity pretty much is a doctrine of devils, which they have stretched and they have molded all into one religion. Pretty much Christianity. And that's all they think about. And they only got one or two verses that they back on, John 3:16 and maybe a couple of other verses, and that's all that they have to go on. They have no bias whatsoever, except their own bias, their own hearts, their own thinking, which is all wickedness. They can't even base anything upon the scriptures. They don't go upon precept upon precept. But the fact is, though, is that this war, we're gonna soon see it. The news is going to be flooding with the fact that Assad has used chemical weapons against his people now that the video has actually been recorded. So that's going to be showing up. That's why they took down the Syrian TV channels, because they're about to make this move against Syria because they know that pretty much Bashar al-Assad has liberated the country, and Idlib is the last stronghold of these terrorists. And once Idlib is liberated from the terrorists, there's no need for the Syrian Democratic Forces, the so-called allies of the United States, to be there anymore. And then they're talking about how there's U.S. soldiers trapped within the Idlib province. Well, what were they doing there? Training terrorists, arming terrorists, training them, and supporting them. How are they getting the weapons to the terrorists? Well, you have to send men in to do that, don't you? Yeah, you have to go through the Syrian Democratic Forces side of Syria, and then you have to literally travel by U.S. military into the Idlib province to give these weapons to the terrorists. Because you can't exactly fly a sortie over there and drop them. Now, man, that got caught on camera. These weapons being dropped to ISIS. So pretty much what's about to happen is they're about to show that video and falsify the evidence. So they say that the video has already been recorded. And southfront.org, you can look at the article there, and you can also check out their YouTube channel, which is pretty much it's another one besides the Syria News, which they took the Syria News right off. They stopped doing the Syria News in English a couple years ago. That got canceled. And there was a segment in there called Hands Off Syria, which is another group similar to Syriana Analysis. The only really Syria News in English now is Syriana Analysis, which that's a guy who actually lives in Germany, who happens to be of Syrian descent. So we're not going to really get the information from there, except, RT and Press TV. So information is limited, and that they're clamping down on the internet, because taking down the Syria TV channels is way bigger than Alex Jones. Alex Jones was just a paid shield. Was pretty much a Zionist shield, because he'll always talk about Muslim terrorists, but he'll never, ever mention the Zionists. He'll never even touch the word Zionism, because, of course, he's paid off. And we know that. How are you going to get into a, Bilderberg meeting? How are you going to get over there unless you're set up? You ain't going to be able to get over there. So we know that was just a staging thing, but it's mostly coming against us. And like we have been stating before, if you hadn't caught the lessons from GMS Las Vegas, man, they have facial recognition now where they could actually change. They have masks where they could actually change their skin color, change the person. And it's Edomites killing others, but they're going to say that Jake's doing that. Yeah, man, they can frame us, because facial recognition is required. And they're past that our real ID, which has the RFID chip in it. And I keep telling everyone, hey, you can actually blow the RFID chip in it, if you want to, you just, 5-10 seconds in the microwave, because otherwise you have to get the federal non-compliant ID. Say you have to renew your ID in the next year or two. But if you don't have to till about 2023, then don't even worry about it, man. But, there are ways around this. But most of all, though, it's a tracking chip, because that RFID is being rolled out. And pretty much it was in the Obamacare bill, which they tried to deny, but yet it was there. There's too many videos proving it. They just changed the numbers a little bit, but it's still in the House Resolution Bill 3960 and 4872, I believe, both of those, where it requires an identification device. So it's not just in the medical, but, identification, they're chipping prisoners. They're chipping soldiers, you can't go outside the perimeter without having a tracking chip on you, and they show you this shit even in the movie Demolition Man that came out years ago. What, did you think that we wouldn't? They say in the movie, pretty much, though, that what Esau is doing, though, is he's about to make his moves real quickly. And eventually, well, this is bringing in famine of the word, because, of course, if we can't get information, we can't get the real news, how can we speak against it? Well, we have the knowledge from the Most High, which is the wisdom and understanding of the scriptures, so we know what's going on, whether we get the news reports or the articles or not. We have this truth. So, like everything else, though, if you want to see the longer length videos where I put it all together, check out the other channel, Confusion Face Ready 2. Until then, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rukal Kadash, Barak. Hope this was edifying. Shalom.